So in the comments of my last video, there was some misunderstandings, should we say. Not by everyone, but there were some misunderstandings. So I'd like to address them because they are interesting to talk about. And also, I would like to reiterate that I have the same stance as Matthew Mercer does on shipping, which is what mostly we're going to be talking about, in that they are fun. Shipping is fine, it is fun, engage in it, do or don't, it is completely up to you. Shipping itself is not a problem. The thing that has to happen is it needs to be done in a healthy way. And this, as I said in the last video, is where the fandom is falling apart at the moment. Now, straight up, I want to say that not all critters who are shippers are a problem. Hell no, not at all. So if you got that from the last video, I apologise. That is not what I was saying. The problem is that a lot of the toxic critters are shippers. So what does make the difference between a critter who's a fan and a critter who is toxic? Engaging in a discussion about differences of opinion. Not toxic. Hurling abuse at the cast for not role-playing the situation that you wanted to see. Toxic. Feeling disappointed that what you hoped for didn't come true. Not toxic. Taking that disappointment out on others, spitting bile and rage. Toxic. I think most of the people who saw my last video are actually pretty lovely. I don't think many toxic people actually watched it, which is both good and bad. The majority of the Critical Role fandom is just chill people trying to watch a show that they love, whether they engage in the online community or not. So it definitely is the minority who are spoiling things. There were a lot of people in the comments of the last video saying that the cast and us as fans should just get off social media, and that the cast should just not respond to any negativity at all. The show itself, Critical Role, is not on TV. It's not on Netflix, it's not on DVDs, it's not something that we pay to have. It is happening on social media. The show itself is on social media. That's where it is. That's where we watch it, and it's where we engage with it. The fan base stretches out all around the world, and one of the main ways we have to communicate and engage with each other is through social media. You can, of course, just watch the show and never engage online at all. That's absolutely fine. But if we all started doing that, there wouldn't really be much of a community left. I met some of my best friends through Critical Role fan sites and cosplay groups. I would never want to deny other people the opportunity to make such cool connections with other people, just so that we can try and stop seeing some of the toxic fans and what they have to say. Plus, if all the nice critters left social media, then the only ones left will be the toxic ones. Now sure, they might just shout themselves out in an echo chamber, and they might just drown in their own toxicity. Cool, but also you've got to remember that then they are our only representatives of our community online. And that doesn't really sound very good, does it? As for the cast choosing to not respond to the negativity, well, honestly, most of the time, they don't. In my last video, I spoke about how Matt Mercer had to take to Twitter to defend his DMing choices, a random encounter, the aging up of Jester, and of course, Travis and Laura's RP between the two characters. He was pretty angry and upset. This doesn't happen, publicly at least, very often at all from Matt Mercer. So for him to feel that strongly about what was going on just shows the level of how toxic it must have been, and how much that behaviour was impacting the cast. Now sure, the cast could just never interact and never respond, take themselves off social media. However, the cast have all said multiple times that they really enjoy engaging with the community, online, in person, at cons, whatever it is. So to rob them of every good engagement that they enjoy for the sake of being able to ignore the minority of negative ones, that doesn't sound fair. And also, that's giving the minority toxic group way too much power. Instead, they address what they feel needs to be addressed, they try to clarify things when they have to, and they speak up when they can. Unfortunately, when, like in the Twitch live chat for episode 118, they see wave upon wave of nasty comments and accusations and hate, well, Mercer has said that that does put him off engaging, and not just engaging with the community, it puts him off wanting to create the content at all. As I said in the last video, if this keeps going and gets to a really extreme point, the cast may well make the decision for their own mental health and well-being to just stop broadcasting. And it would all be because of the toxic behaviour of people calling themselves fans. Okay, so why are we talking about shipping? Why is this the main subject that community are talking about? Well, as I said, although most shippers are lovely people, there is a horrible group who are not. And they have been real loud lately, particularly in wave of episode 118. I did mention the Widow Jest ship in my last video, and I do want to talk about it again in more detail, and also the Beau Jester ship a little bit as well. Now, if you ship either of these ships, again, you are not the problem. It's not the ships themselves that I have any issue with. You can ship whoever you want, I take no problems. It's the toxic people making those groups look bad, not the groups themselves. The really nasty people keep shouting things saying like Jester could fix Caleb, or Jester is the happiness that he deserves. Even worse, saying things like, if he would only tell her that he loved her, then she would realize she's supposed to be with him. You see why this train of thought is toxic? They're treating Jester as an object, a prize to be won or stolen by whoever can make a convincing argument to have her. Nobody owes anybody a relationship just because the other person likes them. Unrequited love is sad. It sucks. It's heartbreaking. But it does heal in time. Seriously, how would you feel, okay? No matter who you ship, no matter what, how would you feel if somebody, maybe a friend, maybe a stranger, just somebody who you didn't fancy, said that they loved you? And on top of that, you've got thousands of people shouting at you saying that you need to be together because they love you, so you need to be with them. You'd make them so happy. You'd be the thing that they need. You are the thing that's gonna make them complete. That's not okay, is it? Even the toxic shippers who see themselves in Jester seem to be portraying her in a really unhealthy way, reducing her character down to just a quirky love interest. Now sure, imagining that you are the subject of someone else's fantasy and someone is madly in love with you is enticing. I get it. Hell, yeah. Understood. I'm with you there. But again, there's an unhealthy extreme. It's not all shippers. It's not all Jester fans. It's not all people who relate to her. It's just the small toxic minority who are doing all of those things really badly and taking out their disappointment on everyone else. Beau confessed that she fancied Jester, and the toxic part of the community immediately jumped on that. I remember reading loads of comments saying that this ship, Beau and Jester, had to sail, and if you disagreed, you are homophobic. Despite Jester not giving us any indication that she was interested romantically in Beau, or indeed any girls. So we're touching on issues of consent here as well, and, you know, Henry Crabgrass is one of the best NPCs. Consent is important. You need to have consensual love between both parties. Yeah. Why are people forgetting this? And again, let me say, this is not all Beau Jester shippers. If you ship this, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. I mean, you probably know. You're in the community with them. You've probably seen the toxic ones, and I'm really sorry. So the same thing again happened with Caleb. And in a way, it was a bit worse. Now, Caleb has not actually confessed to liking Jester in-game, as of episode 118. I wonder, if Liam hadn't mentioned it, would we be having this amount of backlash now? After Liam said that Caleb was a little bit in love with Jester, uselessly in love with her, the toxic members of that particular ship have been getting worse. Going back to shipping only being okay when it's done in a healthy manner, the way they have used that out of character, out of game knowledge to scream hate at the cast is awful. Sam started getting hate because in character, Veth was encouraging Jester to go for Ford. Apparently this made him homophobic because he should have been encouraging her to go with Beau, despite Jester not showing any signs of romantic attachment towards Beau and Beau telling Veth not to do that. And now Laura and Travis are getting hate because they acted on the feelings that they know that their characters have. And to address some of the comments that have been popping up in the wake of episode 118, this relationship has been building since pre-campaign episode 1, but more importantly, it stopped being a joke. Yeah, Laura made jokes about it, and Travis was deciding whether or not he actually wanted to go along with it. At some point in the game even, Jester did drop it and just focus on other things for a while. But then it sparked, and it came up, and it worked, and they were playing off it. Ford gave her that little unicorn, just... I'm not a big crazy shipper, but that moment got me. I'll admit. So if that's an argument that you have, I'm really sorry, but I don't understand where you're coming from. This relationship has been building for a while, and not just because we're picking at little things and reading into them. No, these are big key moments that have happened. You only need to look at the rest of the cast's reactions to see that they all felt the same. Not to mention, this is a husband and wife we're talking about. They've been together for years, they have a kid. They're getting to roleplay some of those beginning of the relationship sparks again. Like, how can you hate on this? Just how? Sure, you can be disappointed if it's not your ideal ship, but hate? Really? I think it's safe to say that Bo is well over her crush on Jester right now, and hello, Yasha. So I don't think that dynamic is going to shift too much. Maybe Liam will play Caleb a bit sadder and more disappointed now. Maybe not. Whatever happens will be fun and exciting, and I am here for it. But if you're one of the screaming minority who are so pissed off that this happened, well, to quote Friends, maybe it's time you took a break. In all seriousness, I'm not sending hate to the haters. I am genuinely concerned. Now, I have a lot of myself invested in Mollymauk, or realistically, there's a lot of Molly in me. For the full story and the pressing backstory of that, just go watch my video about why Molly saved my life. So I understand how it feels to deeply connect to a character and how much it hurts when that character suffers. Or, you know, dies. I really feel like I want to call my friend Rowan and just borrow their t-shirt. They've got a t-shirt that says, "But did you die though?" And it's like to all the really just like hateful critters, just be like, Molly fans over here like, okay, but did your character die? No. But that's not a constructive argument to be having, but it's funny. What I am saying is that not all shippers are bad. The critter fanbase is having to put up with a lot at the moment, but please don't go delving into that and start hating on every single shipper just because they ship a ship that happens to involve some toxic people. That's going to get us absolutely nowhere and just divide us even more. The problem is not what they do, it's how they do it. Maybe we can show them some compassion. Ask if they're okay, see how they're doing. Cheer them up, maybe. Show them some love. I mean, don't forget to love each other. As some amazing person in the comments of my last video said, it's on 2 t-shirts and a mug. Like, how are we forgetting this? It's like, don't forget to love each other. You know, even the haters, if we show them some, you know, kindness, try and ease them back down a little bit, maybe. Unfortunately, there are a lot who I think just are too far gone and will just drown in their own toxicity. And, well, we just have to let them. Meanwhile, the rest of us can just give the show some love. Big up artists, cosplayers, share encouraging messages, encourage each other, engage in discussions, whatever you want to do. Read fanfics, write fanfics, chat in the comments. Be the best critters that we can be, and just maybe the hateful, toxic minority will get overshadowed by the rest of us who just want to enjoy this show that we love so much. If you're still here, thank you for coming to my second ramble. Go live your lives and enjoy yourselves. And thank you for watching. Also, I do Mollymauk cosplays and I do commissions if you want a Christmas present to send to somebody. Head to my Ko-fi for personalised messages. Let me just shamelessly plug on here because, well, the last one of these got a lot of views, so I can but try, right?